Today, we are talking about secrets to building a global employer brand at hyperspeed. And I'm talking to Tatjana Obenaus, who is head of global employer brand at Miro. And anyone who's used to remote working may well have come across Miro before, but tech company moving at pace. And I thought this perfect chance to talk about employer branding at speed, because agility is really important. And I'm particularly passionate about making sure that employer branding is democratized and it's accessible to as many people as possible. And I think your approach, Tatjana, is probably a good thing to investigate. So let's start off with a bit of intro. Tell us a bit about yourself, Tatjana.
Yeah, Chris, thank you so much for having me. I'm a German living in Amsterdam for 7 years already. I joined Miro 8 months ago. Before that time, I worked for Booking.com for almost 6 years, where I was in charge of their employer brand and also some D&I activities. My background is in brand marketing, so that's where I grew up and where I learned all the marketing skills essentially. But I was pretty much attracted by employer brand from the very beginning, and now I'm truly in love with it. I'm super passionate about it. And on the personal side, I have two little boys, and I live with my husband here in Amsterdam.
Love it. Yeah, we've got there's little ones in the house today, so we might get a surprise additional guest in, but yeah, we'll see. When we were talking on LinkedIn, we had organised doing this episode. Like, I think a few days later, I saw, because we hadn't quite sorted out a topic yet, but then I saw you had done a presentation called "The Secrets to Building a Global Employer Brand at Hyperspeed," and I was like, awesome. That just sounds so good. So I suppose, should we start with that? Tell us a bit about that, kind of the journey that Miro has had, and then where you are right now through I'm assuming doing the hyperspeed thing.
Yeah, of course. So I just need to reflect back on essentially the time when I joined Miro. So that was essentially in August last year. And, the company has gone through a crazy time of hyper growth. So you can imagine they grew from 300 to 1,800 people in just over 3 years. So from a recruitment point of view, the pressure was intense. Like, we really had to find all of these amazing people.
Mm.
And, from an employer brand point of view, it was clear that if we want to keep up with that pace, we need to build an employer brand at hyperspeed. And I think looking back, 6 months later, we built quite a lot. So we launched our new career site within 4 months. 1 month after, we launched our new employer brand identity. We increased our social media presence by 90%. We built strategies for events and content overall. So, it was quite a lot that we have achieved. And also, when I prepared for this presentation that you referred to, I was just reflecting back and really like thinking, okay, what enabled us to grow so fast. That's what I want to share with you today. Some of my insights and some learnings that we could share with your audience.
Brilliant. Well, I've been, the whole thing around lean startup and startup. So I think that's a great place for corporations of any size to learn from. That kind of thinking, I think, is so important. So super excited about this. Tell us kind of how did you do this in such a short space of time?
Yeah. So I think what really enabled us to grow and to really build something so fast was really focused on our goals, like massively. We would really deprioritize everything else that would fall underneath.
Okay.
So first of all, when we joined, essentially what we did, we talked to our leaders, like really clearly understanding, hey, what are our goals when it comes to employer brand? Because it can really vary from company to company. Some companies, they really focus on employee retention, others are focusing on talent marketing. And in our case, it was really like, building greater awareness for Miro as an employer, because we really had to find all of these people. So once we found our destination, essentially, where do we want to go? We looked at our starting point, like where are we at now? Like, during that time. So we did some really quite robust research on what is our current employer branding present and state
Okay.
across the entire organization, but also like externally. So we focused our efforts on really having a close look at our employer brand presentation. So back then, like how would we present ourselves to the external world? So that was one pillar, but we also looked into our existing employer brand awareness, like would people even consider us? Would they be seeing us as an employer? And then also we looked into other like data mechanics, like our brand status quo and so forth. So really had a quite a robust look into our data that we had right now. And we found out that essentially the learnings were quite illuminating. So first of all, we found out that we're at the very beginning of building an employer brand reputation because
Mm.
as you can imagine, the company grew so fast, like, from 10 million users to 45 million users in just 12 months. So the
Amazing.
growth was massive and there was so much like space for us to explore. But so essentially when we found out like, okay, we are at the very start of this journey, we asked ourselves like, okay, is this like now a good thing or a bad thing? And we realized like this is a massive opportunity for us to build a reputation for Miro as an employer. So that was, I think, our first kind of key moment for us, like, oh, we need to do more. And afterwards, we looked into our presentation, and what we did, we looked at our at the candidate journey. Really looking at, okay, what are the touch points that candidates would be utilizing for, exploring Miro as an employer? And we found out that we are not present in many places. Because when I joined back then in August, like there was a team in place that would be looking after EB, but it was mainly focused on events, going to some
Okay.
conferences, doing some meetups and so forth. They did a great job, right? But the journey and the whole candidate journey was just not, fueled with content and so forth. So we realized like, okay, there's a huge opportunity for us to fuel all of these amazing touch points with content. First of all, our careers website. We didn't have a careers website. It was just a landing destination, like a landing page with some text boxes and then like, hey, apply now. So that was our biggest opportunity to really build out that platform where candidates can come and look for content and really explore, more about us as an employer. But what is our starting point? We built out a very robust roadmap and strategy for 2 years. So I will show you a picture later, like to highlight how detailed it is. But it's essentially a very big plan that really kept us focused on everything that we would need to achieve, and also in the logical, reasoning. Like first we need to build career side, then we build out the other channel performances, and then we build out campaigns and so forth.
Okay.
So to
Yeah.
really have a
Nice.
very
Yeah.
strategic approach to
Yeah.
your initiatives and what you do first and what you do after really helped us stay focused on our goals, and also helped us push back on any other requests. Because as you can imagine, being an EB, having all these, like working with all these stakeholders and having all these people that you need to support, you can say like, okay, this is our plan for the year. Sorry, we don't have capacity right now. We need to push back on anything else. So that helped us really stay focused on these goals. So yeah, building a strategy and roadmap, that was really our first key area where we focused our efforts on.
And that gave you the confidence, say, to push back. I think you're absolutely right, because it's employer brand roles are, it's like they're given, the team or the individual are given everything. I was like, oh, can you do this? Can you do this? And actually, yeah. And you mentioned deprioritizing as well, which is
Exactly.
great. I love that word. The deprioritizing. Look, we cannot do it now. And that focus is fantastic, because in a way it reminds you, it gives you confidence to go, no, stick to the plan. Have the flexibility, of course, because of the speed of change and everything. But having that plan is really important. Lovely. Yeah. So what was the next aspect of it then?
So the second one was really looking at our team and how we would enable our little EB team. Because at Miro, we were quite fortunate. I realized that not everyone in EB has a team, an internal team to work with. So I was quite fortunate when I joined. We had 4 specialists on the team that were looking after employer brand. But again, they had a very clear focus on events in the past, and they also did some content production, like long formats, stories, so on and so forth. But we realized due to our new plan and strategy, we need to shift our priorities and efforts. And we also realized that we need to equip our team with specialized talent, which I truly feel is super important. I think in our IB world, you tend to be, especially when you're on recruitment, you tend to be like, oh yeah, there's a recruiter who has so much interest in content, just like, take them on. And if you want to scale, if you want to really elevate your employer branding effort, especially when it comes to the external presentation of your employer brand, I truly believe that you need to get specialized talent on board that have experience in content marketing, whatever your plan tells you to do. So we got a very specialized content lead on board that would really help us scale our content efforts, build out strategies for our own media channels, and so forth. So that was the first activity that we probably did in order to really equip our team. And then secondly, really listening to my team. Right now we are pretty much everywhere. So we are a remote team. So I have 2 team members sitting in Yerevan right now, in Armenia. I have one in Berlin, one here with me in Amsterdam, the other one is here in the US. We are very remote. So trying to find letting the team come closer together and working more efficiently together. But what I realized also when I joined is that there was quite a big misalignment with our brand team. In the past, we had to really rely on their creative expertise in order to get projects done. For example, if it's copywriting or designers and so forth. And as you know, you always need to fight for resource, especially sometimes when you're in a team outside of brand, but you still need to kind of work with them. So what we did, we first of all established a very close relationship with our brand team and really let them know, like, hey, this is our strategy and roadmap. But what we also did, we equipped our own little team with creative resource. So now we have a contractor who is a designer who can support us if we need to do something fairly quickly. For example, if tomorrow we have this post on social, we need to create a creative ASAP. So we can really, use these resources as kind of emergency requests. So that would really enable us to still, be agile and flexible whenever needed, but obviously still partnering very closely with the brand team. So I think that was quite I would say it was not a major shift for the team, but still enabled us to really work just more agile and efficiently with all the projects that we are having. Now so we have a bit of a global team that sits with us in Miro, and then essentially we have this, I call it outer cycle. So that's the brand resource that we are working closely with, the external contractors that we are collaborating with, and then also we have this another cycle which is more we rely heavily on agencies as well. So you can't get it done all by yourself. That's my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, you're right. Typically, you got brand teams and marketing teams are very busy. Talk about deprioritizing. They got a whole load of other things they need to do. And I think by you coming with a plan, one thing is we know exactly what we want to do. We have a strategy in place. I think that's a massive tick, of course, isn't it? But then also going, don't worry, we're not expecting you to all of a sudden increase your capacity by 30% to do all this. We have a team in place. They are specialists, but also, and this is good commercially as well, is that you have that outer support, which is contractors that you can then call upon, which means you're not investing huge amounts. You're investing when you need to invest rather than all of a sudden having a bigger headcount than you maybe need to.
Exactly.
It feels like that was the perfect way to then make sure actually the brand team were on board with things, because they knew that they knew the direction you're going, but knew that they didn't have to deliver it all or a lot of it. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. And to really like we heavily rely on them still if it comes like to more, strategic projects, like more foundational work. For example, we developed our new employer brand identity very closely together with them because I really wanted them to be heavily involved when creating the foundation for our employer brand. But now essentially we have playbooks and we know how our employer brand comes to life. So now we can essentially take all the more like tactical initiatives on by ourselves. Obviously, we still share the work with them, like, hey, this is what we produce ourselves. This is okay. So now we can go live. But yeah, like, involving them at the right time in the process, like, helped us massively in order to like keep the agility for our teams. Yeah.
Your experience in brand like definitely shines through on this. It's but getting them
Yeah.
involved is fantastic because again they're part of, if you're co-producing it with them, then they are very much on board with it. So then when you do need help and you are doing a piece of work that might be, a bit of a push in terms of effort, then actually that you've got a bit of a head start with them. Also that thing about specialisms as well.
Yeah.
Typically, and this I think this is the case for social media and still is for social media actually, although it's starting to change. Is in employer branding and in social media, it's been, you look at the two job descriptions. Can you do this? Can you do this? This
Yeah.
left brain stuff, right brain stuff. It's
Mhm.
expecting like one person to do so many different things. Now it's good to have that
Yeah.
experience, that breadth of experience, but ultimately, I love that. I love the fact you brought in specialists to do it, because you're in a way building your own kind of
And the
agency
specialist,
within the business.
yeah. Yeah, pretty much so. I think that's probably not my end goal to be like an agency in there, but yeah, you get it. Like exactly, it's really building like the specialty in house, and now we are really also supporting the entire people function. With
Yeah.
advice on any creative projects and so forth, because we are pretty much like a little marketing function within HR with all
Mm.
the expertise and specialties on board. So no, but also what you just mentioned regarding like, having specialists on the team. What I also saw that, my team, like also the remaining like team members in my team who I took over when I joined, they learned so much from that specialist within our team when it comes to content. She brought all of this knowledge into our little team, and now they're like really flourishing and learning and growing so much that we would have never achieved without. And then, hence we grow from within. We just become stronger. So it's not getting stuff done, not only about getting stuff done, it's about really fueling your entire team and enabling them. So
Brilliant. I know there is a good reason I wanted to have this chat with you because I think, this is fantastic. So you've got the see strategy in place, which means you've got the flexibility, but also the kind of the structure to make sure you're focusing on the right things, which means you're getting buy-in when it comes to having the right team involved. You've got the team involved as well.
yeah,
What else is there in terms of
yeah,
what else did you
yeah,
do?
yeah. There was one last area that we really focused our efforts on in order to scale, and that's what I mentioned already. It's like building our unique and compelling employer brand identity. Because, excuse me, essentially when I joined Miro in August, the team had already deployed our employer value proposition, which is crucial, right?
Right.
It's like pretty much the foundation. It's the rational thinking of why someone would want to join Miro. But I realized that there's one thing missing. It's essentially like a unique creative narrative that you could how you would positioning yourself externally. So essentially that creative layer on top of the EVP that was missing. Because if you have a look at the EVP for a lot of tech companies, it's pretty much like, it sounds pretty much similar. Like it shouldn't be that way, but if you see that at the
Yeah.
EVP, it's like, oh yeah, this could be any other SaaS company, right? But we needed to find a very unique and creative way to tell that narrative to candidates. So that is what we wanted to do. So we work really closely together with our brand team and other stakeholders within the business to really, identify a concept, a unique narrative. And what we did, we started with research. So we looked into like, okay, what would candidates attract to come work for Miro? And we found out that a lot of our candidates, they love our product. There's this huge love for our product. Like that's what they want to do. Like, oh yeah, I've heard of Miro before. I used the tool. It's such a fantastic tool. I would love to explore more. So we wanted to connect that the love for our product with the essence of how it is to work at Miro. And we developed a concept. It's called a career without edges. So as you can say, it's like a play on the indefinite canvas, because as our product offers this limited canvas for people to, bring their ideas to life, we as Miro offer a career without boundaries. Like, people can really explore and pursue their passions and look for new opportunities within Miro as an employer. So we have this new concept now. It lives on our career site. So that's where we first of all, brought it to life. And what we did after, we produced these playbooks. Like it's like a board. It's not a playbook. It's like this year we needed to build a board for it. But it's essentially a very compelling board where everyone in the company can find out more about our EVP, but also our new concept and what's the narrative behind that. So we really wanted to ensure that everyone really understands the narrative and knows how to use it externally to promote it and so forth. And now, we are using these playbooks. We also produced a training, like it's a training path that every employee can take in order to like really get into it. And that really helps us to scale, because right now, like whenever we go back to the concept, we think like, okay, how can we bring it to life? And that, I think that was one of like a very crucial piece of us being able to scale at speed. Definitely.
And you weren't using a PDF, you were using something quite dynamic, in terms of, a resource that people can look at and have conversations around and embed rich content rather than just what is usually has been used, which is a toolkit, which is a PDF. Maybe it's got hyperlinks in it, which takes you to a certain page, but ultimately the canvas that you have is a lot more collaborative, isn't it? Which is that's fantastic.
We also wanted it to be a board because we are iterating, as we go. Also, we went through hyper growth. The company grew like crazy. Now we are a bit at the plateau, so we won't be growing so much anymore. So now, obviously, also our EVP will probably evolve. So we also, that board enables us as well to do testing and iterating, and then really update as we go without updating PDFs and like send a new version of it. So I think that work was really quite a successful initiative for us to scale massively.
Yeah, and it's because actually who you might need to recruit will change, isn't it? If you read lots of books from entrepreneurs and listen to talks from entrepreneurs, or you read about startups, they'll tell you that the kind of people you need to recruit in 1 year may be very different to the people you need to recruit in another year, because first of all they need to be in a position to be able to be part of a cling on to the ride, and move very fast. But then you get to a stage when you need to bring more structure into it. That could be a whole episode in its own right, but that thing about being able to adapt the kind of people you hire, you look for, is really important. And I think it's so easy for employer branding to be put in the pigeonhole or the box of 6 to 12 months. I've seen 18 months of projects before, developing an employer brand, launch it, and then it's returned to in 3 years' time, 2 years' time, maybe longer. But having something agile like you're talking about is absolutely, I think in my view, is like such an important thing to try and to investigate, I think. I mean, so how long did it, you mentioned a little bit of it at the beginning, but from start to not finish, but from having the EVP in place to then scaling it to having a website, to being on LinkedIn, to having your guidance for employees, how long was that? How long does it take?
For us, like we moved quite fast because we had a lot of pressure on this one particular project, the career site. There was a lot of visibility behind that. So from start to finish, from briefing to delivery, I would say 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And rollouts of playbooks like 6 months, half a year. So
Yeah.
I think when I joined and I heard like, okay, let's build a career site within the next 2 quarters, it was like, how are we able to do this? So I was quite surprised as well when we did it in the end. But no, it helped us. It was a massive milestone for us. So we kept our efforts like so focused on moving on with this. So
And the career site doesn't stay like that, does it? As well, the career site goes to iterations, and it is a thing that can grow along with the team, along with the changes in demand for the talent you're looking for. So what do you think about all of the content / experiences that you've created off the back of all of this? What are the pieces that put the big smile on your face and going, you know what, I love what I do.
Yeah, obviously I'm terribly proud on our career side. So we went live with our MVP version in Jan, and now we're working on the second release. So we really worked on like optimizing it even further. We looked into data points, like how can we make the search results or the search options like easier and so forth. So that's a project I'm very proud of, and then also really brings the concept to life in a very beautiful way. Another content piece I'm very proud of is our new senior engineering film. So I think it's the first one that we ever did in the company. We were portraying our senior engineering leaders in the company. So I think it's a very beautiful, authentic piece on our engineering culture that we'll be launching in the next few days. That reminds me, like, I love my job so much. Yeah, exactly. Just love it.
I love what we do because like when you someone's job is not everything about themselves, of course not, but it's such a big part of someone's life that to hear them talking about what they do, is fantastic. And what we'll do is when this episode is published, the video I'm sure will be ready by then, so we'll make sure we get some of that footage into the episode, and I'll put a link to it in the episode description for sure. Great. Well, we could have talked a lot longer. It's a fascinating subject. Maybe we get you back and see what things are like 6 months later. But yeah, that's really good. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Bye.